Wolverhampton Wanderers. Oh, there you are. Do follow me. Dr. Tottenham will be with you right away.
Hello and welcome to another fantastic episode of the Crowing Cockerel podcast, where we'll delve into one good result, one really disappointing result, and we'll discuss whether anybody should be expelled from this pod for using the phrase Dr. Tottenham. So with me is Tom. Good evening, Tom. How are you?
I'm very well, mate. Good to see you.
And Mark. You well, Mark?
No, I'm grumpy, and I'm very much ready for this counselling session this evening.
And as always, I'm Graham, so let's get into it. Saturday night, ridiculous kickoff time, really, to be watching football 8 o'clock on a Saturday night. Should be out enjoying ourselves, not watching that monstrosity of a second half. Good start to the season, points-wise. You can't complain about the league position, but there's problems, isn't there? It's not cohesive. We're getting dominated by teams at home at the moment. The home form at the beginning of the season has not been good, really. You know, to only take 4 points out of those 3 fixtures that we've been given by the fixture computer, which we all said was quite kind. What do you think's not clicking?
I don't know if it's Thomas Frank, if it's the players, if it's something to do with what's going on with our home form. It is a bit confusing. We've said across the whole start of the season that it has never felt that we've properly kicked into gear, that we've properly dominated a game where we've seen that pace of play that perhaps we were expecting. We've been saying for a while that Thomas Frank is pragmatic, and that clean sheet first mentality is something that he's obviously drilling into the squad. But the results have been good. I can't put my finger on it. I don't know if it's an instruction he's giving, or if the players aren't just quite gelling yet. And I go back to something else we said. I really want to see Xavi Simons play in that 10 role. And I will put this on Frank, why he felt the need to play Bentancur and Paulinho at home against the bottom side in the Premier League as 2 sitting defensive midfielders. That seemed like a bit of an odd call. I felt like we could have been I felt like we could have got at them a bit more.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, there were 2 things that I really was looking forward to before the start of the season. 2 things that really upset me about last season more than anything, which was, number one, just our complete inability to beat the weaker teams, the teams that everyone else seemed to be dismissing and having no trouble whatsoever. And I've been gathering some information about specific examples of that last season. And of course, the hallowed phrase of Dr. Tottenham, us helping out all these teams that are less fortunate than us. And that combined with being a bit of a banter club last year, you know, again, so many different examples of that last season. I was looking forward to that changing. And again, a result like that, you know, Wolves have been awful this season. You know, they're bottom of the league, not even a single point, and then they come to Spurs, and they completely deserve to win that game. They really deserve
I wouldn't
to
go
win
that far. Wouldn't go that. Second half, they were much, much better. We were awful. First half, went in a half time. We were very unfortunate not to be at least one goal up. We didn't create lots and lots of chances, but Kudos definitely should have scored from 2 yards out. Fantastic ball in. Bergvall snatched at the volley. I don't think we were that awful. We weren't Bournemouth at home awful. Bournemouth over 2 halves completely dominated. We couldn't get near them. Wolves second half absolutely stamped. They changed their formation, didn't they? They started off with 5 at the back, and then he went. To 4 at the back, and then he went to 5 at the back, which they played last season. And they obviously were more confident.
But Bournemouth played really well against us.
Yeah.
I don't think Wolves did anything. Like
we just couldn't get. We couldn't get out. We
were terrible. We were terrible. And again, we'll talk about Xavi a little bit later on. But I thought he had an absolute shocker, absolute terrible performance.
Xavi seemed to be overplaying it. Bergvall seemed to be overplaying it as well, which was strange for him given the start of the season he's had. I will say this, Wolves seemed to have some good chances, but their goal was really fortunate. It wasn't a really well taken goal. There was a definite slice of luck in them going 1-0 up. And that will always change the dynamic of a game. So we seem to be trying way too hard, and maybe we're being a bit harsh because we've been asking for a bit more dynamism and a bit more creativity, and actually these players were trying things and they just weren't coming off. And then you try things, they don't come off, and then the opposition score. That's a bit of a kick in the teeth, especially when you're at home. So yeah, I mean, I didn't see loads of chances for Wolves, but from what I saw and what I heard about the second half, it definitely felt like Wolves did enough to be going away with a point.
Yeah, they were unfortunate for us to get for us to equalise because we hadn't looked like scoring, had we?
No,
All second
not
half.
at all.
They didn't
Not at
get
all.
anywhere near their goal. We weren't putting lots of shots or quality shots in. The keeper didn't make any saves of any note. And I know that Mark, is going to say that Xavi had a terrible, terrible game. Nothing came off for him. It didn't work good at all. But there's bigger problems there. I mean, what we want is a player to be able to take risks, muck something up every now and again, and it not be completely on that one player. Because half the problem is when you set your team up with Bentancur, Palhinha, Bergval, and then Xavi, playing off the left, it's so obvious what you're going to do because your most creative player is Xavi. He kept trying things, he flicks and nothing came off. His touch wasn't brilliant either. He doesn't look physically up
I
to
was
the
going to say
Premier League
that.
yet. Yeah.
He
But
really struggled
it's
physically, didn't he?
very, very early on, isn't it? And I'm beating down on him now. He was part of a really poor performance. But if we're just going to rely on one player doing everything again, we are going back to Mourinho and Conte, and they were lucky enough to have Harry Kane. We haven't got Harry Kane anymore. We can't be a team that relies on one player to do anything. And I just have real concerns that what looks like a good start to the season, actually, apart from the Man City result, is more to do with the kindness of the fixtures than actually whether we're any good at the moment. And then at the end of the game, Palhinha says, well, we just weren't patient enough. And I sort of get his point, and I get that we were a bit rushed and we were playing it long too early and things like that. But we're just not quick getting it up the pitch. It's just like everybody's going to get back and we're going to be playing in front of 8 to 10 players and then wonder why we're not creating good chances.
Yeah, but it's strange, isn't it? Because it's not like we don't have these technical players. We've got Xavi, we've got Kudus on the other side, you've got Bergval. Those three players in your team, you would think would have that creativity and that technical ability to be able to play and transition through their areas quickly. And you've got certainly on the left, Udogie was bursting forward. But yeah, I don't know what it is. Obviously I've not watched the other 5 Wolves games to see what the other teams have done to beat them, but it
I
just
think
seems to be.
They have been unfortunate in a couple of them. The Man City one, they got well and truly done, didn't they? But a couple of them, they were, they probably played better than their results suggest. But that's by the by, isn't it? They're still losing games. They're still not difficult enough to beat.
I don't think you reward the manager with a new contract if the club doesn't see some sort of progress, some sort of process, something to hang their hat on. And he was 3 or 4 games in, and they've given him a new couple of years on the contract he's already got. And I really do wonder how much we're missing Dom Solanke at the minute as well. The fact is, Richie's had a really good start to the season, but then he had a little injury, so he stepped out. Tell came in. Kolo Moani was going to provide some backup as well, but now he's picked up an injury, and we haven't had sort of a settled front three. We would all say, based on sort of early season form, that it was looking like Simons, Richie, and Kudus would be that front three, and that sounded exciting, but the way it's going, again, I'll say it, I want Simons tried out in that 10 position. You could rotate that between him and Bergval. We were talking last time about the rotation in the squad. If we're a big team, we should be able to rotate these players out. And I would love to see Johnson restored to the team because I think he's got the experience. He's got that goal scoring nous that we've spoken about before.
He got really frustrated, didn't he? Because he came on and he was in space 3, 4, 5 times. But ball just wasn't being played. It was, dribble, 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 dribble. And we all have said now, he could develop into a fantastic, just out and out striker, but he needs balls played into him. It's no good asking him to hold it up. He said, almost, I'm not going to suggest he's in the same league as Son, but there's things that he can do and there's things that he definitely can't do. It all comes back, and it's almost being biased to yourself, isn't it? That I'm probably picking up on stuff that I was worried about too much. But all I'm seeing at the moment is a complete lack of fluidity moving the ball up the pitch and round the pitch quickly.
The thing I always try and look out for the press conference after the match, and not the snippets on Sky Sports, BBC, whatever, as in like the full press conference where he sits down and he has to answer some questions. And so, like I say, I couldn't watch the whole game, but I found the footage of the full press conference. I watched it and I was just waiting for Thomas Frank to say, and we could have moved the ball quicker. That was, if he just said that, some of my anxiety would have dissipated a bit. One thing he's been totally honest. I still have a lot of faith in his approach and his ability to galvanize the squad and keep us competitive. One of the journalists also called him out about the Bentancur and Paulinho decision, and he said, maybe if I hadn't done that, we might have gone behind sooner. We wouldn't have had that structure, and then all of a sudden we're chasing the game. So I don't disagree.
That's a bit of a red flag, isn't it?
Yeah,
that is a bit.
Absolutely.
That is a bit. Say. Yeah, that is. Yeah, but we might have been worse. I mean, how about
that is so cautious.
Yeah, how about we might have been 2-0 up because we might have been trying to score or be better at trying to score a goal. We're only 6. Well, we're really 9 games in, aren't we? So you can't hang your hat on absolutely something, but there's some trends now where it's a bit concerning. And when we start ramping up the opposition, when we hit November and we've got, I think, isn't it, Chelsea, Arsenal, Man United, all in a group. I worry about Thomas Frank coming from a Brentford side that if Brentford draw against Wolves at home, no matter what sort of form Wolves are in, the only supporters or the only people that really notice are Brentford supporters. It'll be on Match of the Day. They'll talk about it, go, that's not upset, but it won't really be discussed in the broader sense, will it? When your Spurs manager drawing against Wolves at home, as Mark rightly says, they are the games that you mark down and say 3 points. You have to get 3 points against these teams. You cannot just put it, we didn't play very well. It's just not okay. You should be able to beat these teams without playing very well. It would almost be better if, for example, we hit the post 3 times. If you're not finishing chances, it's different, isn't it? Yeah.
If you'd say if we'd created chances and just been unlucky, then fine. Like that it happens. You can accept that. But and I take your point. Yeah, in that first half, we probably should have been 1 up, but it wasn't as if we absolutely dominated that first half. And yeah, like you say, there are trends. I mean, talking about trends, I looked at last season, and there were 8 games that we did not win against the teams that at the time were in the bottom 5, which is crazy. We didn't beat Leicester last season, who were relegated. We lost at home to Ipswich, and they only won 4 games all season. But the whole Dr. Tottenham thing came against Palace. Palace were 18th. They hadn't won in their first 8 games of the season. They beat us. Same with Ipswich. They hadn't won in their first 10, came and beat us. Everton, we lost to Everton. They were 16th. They had gone 6 without a win. They beat us, and then they only go and lose 1 in the next 12. It was just Wolves drew and beat us last season. West Ham, right at the end of the season, they drew with us. They were 17th. They hadn't won in 7. They then won 3 out of the next 4 and finished above us in the league. So it's just these games where we're playing against these teams that are bottom of the league, and they're bottom of the league for a reason, because everyone else is beating them. And we don't seem to be able to find a way of getting past these teams. And, for that to happen 8 times in one season last season, and I know we'll talk, we've already spent lots of time talking about the extenuating circumstances of the league last year, but
But you could go back previously. I mean, the Dr. Tottenham thing, which makes me vomit into my own mouth. But it's not been invented last season, has it?
No.
This isn't. There's another podcast out there called Dr. Tottenham. It's been going ages. It's a phrase much like that other phrase that shall not be mentioned on this pod that has been doing the rounds and rounds and rounds and rounds. And unfortunately, we keep doing stuff to embed its reality.
I mean, I honestly think some of my pessimism from last week has rubbed off on you chaps. So let me try and put a slightly positive spin on this. And that is to say that we didn't lose the game, which we definitely could have done. Perhaps even if it was last season, we might have lost the game, given sort of how we were playing and, the massive injuries that we had. Paulinho's goal was really well taken, proper cultured finish. Didn't rush it, absolutely placed it, and he saved us. And if you want to be really positive about it, you would have taken a draw at Man City and you would have taken a win against Wolves at home. The points that we've got right now are representative of where we are, and we are still in a really, really good position. I said a few pods back that I'm waiting until we get into October for Frank to really understand how these patterns of play are going to work between these players, how he's going to get the best of those new players coming in, and how he's going to get the best of those players coming back from injury. So to deviate slightly from my pessimistic bent, we came out of that with a point that we almost deserved. And
I think over the game we deserved a point. It's a different point, if you like, whether that is good enough. But I don't think we deserved to lose over the whole game. But we were lucky to get the equaliser because it didn't look like we were happening.
Yeah, I think to Tom's point as well, I think Paulinho looks like a player, and if he carries on the way he started the season, I think we have got an option to buy, haven't we, at the end of the loan?
Yeah.
I've about 27 million. I've seen that on a couple of news outlets.
Yeah, which is an absolute bargain because
he's 30, isn't he? So
yeah.
If you think about it, if he can maintain that for the next couple of years, would you pay 15 million a year for him if he's doing what he's doing at the minute? Yeah, I'd say get him on a 2-year contract with an extra year, and if he's still doing it at 32, you either give him that year, or if other players have come along, you've still got an asset then that you can sell on.
Bergvall and Sarr are going to be mid-20s by then, aren't they? So it's perfect. It's really good.
You'd hope, but he has started really well. I've got some stats here. So he's in the top 85% for passes attempted. He's in the top 91% of passes completed. He's in the top 99% for completed tackles. He's in the top 95% for aerial duels won. He scored 3 goals. So absolutely, he's done brilliantly, and I think it'd be daft if we're not already looking at bringing him on.
Yeah, what I really liked as well is what you said after the game. I know, Graham, you were questioning about the patience, but what he got asked, you must be really happy with with your goal and everything, and he just said, no, I'm not happy. We only drew at home to Wolves. We need to be winning those games. That sort of mentality as well is really important.
As we're on a slightly more positive upward turn after what was a disappointing result against Wolves, should we move on to a game we actually won? So we were back in the League Cup against Doncaster.
Back in the heady days of midweek.
Absolutely. So what's the feeling on that one? We all expected some changes to the squad. I was quite pleased that it wasn't as massively rotated as it could have been.
Yeah, I mean, again, we did struggle a little bit second half. I don't know what it is about second halves. We just first half good, really at it, really probably got the job done, and maybe there was a bit of save the legs or whatever. But generally, it was pretty good, wasn't it? And probably just scored an overhead kick, which is always fun, isn't it?
I made some notes actually while I was watching the game, which felt very grown up and proper football analytic.
Very professional.
The one thing I've written down here was, and it's been borne out in the chat we've had already, Paulinho's passing is way better than I expected it to be. He feels like a more progressive Højbjerg.
Yes.
He's a definite upgrade. It's not just sideways.
A more progressive Højbjerg. I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, he's a player, that's for sure. He's definitely a player. One question I was going to ask you chaps Do you think any of the fringe players made any arguments to be a first team player? Because for me, they didn't.
I thought Johnson was very good. I thought Johnson was good, actually. Did think he
I think Johnson's already.
performance.
See, to me, Johnson's already should already be a first team player.
I'm going to come in here and say that if Thomas Frank had decided to play Bergvall, Paulinho, and Gray on Saturday against Wolves, that would have been well deserved. Gray was everywhere against Doncaster.
Yeah. To be fair,
He had a really, really good game, and I want to see him getting more minutes. I thought that was one of his best performances from us. He played, I think he played like an inside right, but
yeah,
he was
because Paulinho actually played centre back, didn't he? Basically,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
and then Gray
But
played.
at first thought, I thought they were playing like a 3-5-2. It was the players that he chose didn't seem to quite fit, but it seemed quite fluid. And of course, we're talking about Doncaster, so we should be able to have that sort of flexibility with the players in the squad. But Gray, I thought was fantastic. Really put himself about. And actually, I don't know what it was, but every time we seemed to have a set piece, the camera seemed to find Gray. Gray seemed to be being a pest, an absolute pest, pushing into people, And he looks like a child, and he looks got a proper baby face on him. But he was right at it, and
His passing was excellent. It was really, really good, wasn't it?
I thought just overall passing, keeping the ball, that bit of physicality. He hasn't properly filled out yet either, but he's putting himself about. Gray had a really good game, and I would be okay to see his name on the team sheet. You look at Bodo Glimt coming up. Yeah, absolutely. He could definitely play a part. I definitely would like to see him getting more minutes.
And Johnson again, great finish at the end.
yeah.
As we keep saying,
Very dependable, isn't he? Very dependable.
He looks like our best finisher in the squad at the moment, doesn't he?
Yeah, really
Just
does.
Seems give him a chance and he scores a goal.
It's disappointing week overall, but into the next round of the Carabao Cup, tough draw. Tough draw away to Newcastle. I mean, my goodness, that's that is not much reward, is it, for getting to the next round? But yeah, we'll see how we get on. I mean, again, watch them against Arsenal and Newcastle are now a very physically imposing team, so it's going to be very interesting to see how we cope with that.
But they've got a lot of games this season, haven't they? So their strength is that midfield three, isn't it? They haven't got Isaac anymore, who although Voltemada looks half decent, there's no way that he is Isak's level. So there is a drop off there, and can they afford to play that their midfield three in the Carabao Cup when they've got lots of other games?
You say that, Graham, but obviously they are the holders. That game will mean more to them than us. We're in the Champions League this year. I will say this: if we go up to Newcastle and we beat them, I want to win the League Cup. That would be a really good result. But at the end of the day, if there's something to win, we won something last year and it was bloody brilliant. I'm not knocking the League Cup back at all. It'll be a really tough game. They will be up for it more than us. It is away, so if we get through that, that might be one of the toughest games we can have. And then I would hope that we would go on and at least make the semis.
Cool. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a tricky tie, that's for sure. So I don't know about you guys, but I feel like my grey matter needs a bit of prodding and poking and into the Spurs archives. So there's only one thing we can do about that now, and that is let's get Tom's teaser on.
Tom's teaser.
Oh, I love that.
Well, of course, last time we had Tom's teaser about Champions League. It was obviously Villarreal and Spurs players who've both played at the same club, and I thought, well, let's keep it related to cup competition, shall we? And we obviously kicked off with that win against Doncaster in the League Cup. And I was looking through the annals of history at the current records held by certain players in the League Cup, and I came across a Spurs player, and I thought, well, this seems like the perfect thing. So I want you guys to tell me, and I'm going to give you the year. Tottenham hold the record for the most goals scored by one player in a League Cup season. Now, the year was 1986, 1987. So, Mark, you won last time, kind of by default.
I'm very confident about my answer in this one.
Graham, you got your answer?
Yeah, it seems a bit obvious.
Okay, all right. So, shall I just get you to say the name at the same time? After 3, 1, 2, 3.
Clive Allen.
Allen.
Correct.
Yes.
So, obviously now we need a decider. I'm going to ask you how many goals. So, get it in your mind.
Closest answer,
Graham.
I guess, yeah?
Closest answer wins it. Graham, what are you going to go for? League
14.
Cup.
14. 1-4. 14.
I'm going to go 11.
Mark takes it.
Was I spot on?
12.
Oh.
So you're only 1 out. Graham, you're 2 out. And that means Mark's wins this week's Tom's Teaser.
Tom's Teaser.
He did get 49 goals that season.
He did. And when I was a child in 1987, I wrote him a letter to congratulate him.
Beautiful.
Did he write back?
No, he didn't.
Right.
No, he didn't. But we absolutely need to make sure that bit is clipped up. We'll send it on social media to Clive Allen. We'll see if he comes back. Says
Clive, you're an
well done.
absolute legend, but how dare you ignore Mark's letter?
Well, come and knock on your door.
Maybe it got
Amazing.
lost in the post.
You never know. He was very
No.
busy scoring loads of goals.
Yeah, no, that was a good Tom's Teaser.
Right. So I don't think we can get through this episode without very briefly touching on it. I don't think it's worth going into much detail. But of course, the club did have to put out a statement again around not being up for sale after Consortium for America apparently offered a total package of 4.5 billion quid, which would have been the biggest purchase of a UK football club, bigger than the Chelsea purchase by Todd Bowley. The package was 3.3 billion for the club, effectively, and then a war chest of 1.2 billion to spend on transfer fees and wages. Rejected, apparently. Not for sale. Does that put pressure now on the Lewis family if they're rejecting not just the 3.3 billion, but also the 1.2 war chest? Because that was the bit that raised a few eyebrows, wasn't it? That's quite a chunk of money to be improving the squad with. Do the Lewis family look at it and go, we don't want to sell because we believe that we can invest big amounts into the squad? Or can you think of any other reason why they would reject what is an awful lot of money at the end of the day? It's all very nice them wanting to own Spurs, but slap that sort of money on the table, it's sometimes difficult to say no, isn't it?
But once you've got a billion, what's another billion, right?
I don't know, Mark. In your experience as a billionaire, what's your thoughts?
It's, to me, I'm all in on the whole Lewis family. Spurs fans want to do the best for the club, feel they have the level of investment within the current consortium or the future plans to be able to allow Spurs to make the progress that Spurs fans want. And I'm pretty happy to hear that they rejected it, to be perfectly honest. I'm not even sure how credible this group are.
We won't know how credible it is at all, will we? Because we'll never be party to that conversation. But it was quite detailed, wasn't it? The reports and the sort of bids that was out there in the open, with the breakdown and the fact that it was this separation of the amount for the club, and then this is the pot of money that we'd put into the recruitment.
Yeah, when you hear those little quotes, like apparently it was from a dossier called Tottenham 3.0, and was it Brooklyn? I want to say earwig, but it's not. It's Brooklyn Earic. I can't be too offensive because you might come back. But apparently he had made some bids in Formula E or within sort of the most motorsports arena, and there was some questions around the financials that stopped that from going through. So you maybe think you dodged a bullet. One of the interesting things I heard about this whole thing is this might have been one of the reasons that Daniel Levy left. Now, either because he wasn't getting deals like this over the line, or because he was courting deals like this. The one thing that makes me think it's a former is that I also heard that the club was getting really annoyed with the lack of the stadium sponsorship, and the fact that that seems to be something which, as far as the club are concerned, should be an easy thing for a club of Tottenham size to do, and Daniel still hadn't got it over the line. So it feels like something around these big financial questions might be part of the reason why Levy got the boot, essentially. And what was nice to hear was two things, really. When Thomas Frank was asked about this, he was saying how he's now having these conversations with the ownership, with BNI, with Peter Charrington, with the Lewis family, and they're talking about building in layers. And he feels like he said he feels like they're 120% committed. So you hear that, and that's really positive stuff. Are they going to come in and open a 1.2 billion war chest for players? I don't know, but what you do want is stability. And the one thing the club is doing really well at the moment is communication. So that sort of front-facing, connecting with the fans, keeping us abreast of what's going on, which I know some of the fan boards have been really, really knocked about over the years, feeling that Daniel Levy kept like a very, very close ship. This is the one good thing that's come out of this story. It's highlighting again that that sort of approach from the leadership at Tottenham has changed, and it's far more engaging, and it feels like more of the top people are moving in the same direction.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking ahead then, we have got 2 more games this week. Bodo Glimt in the Champions League, and then another away game against Leeds. Obviously, we've got our prediction league going on, and 2 games against Doncaster and Wolves. 2 very different results. Let's just do the easy one first. None of us got any points for the ridiculous optimistic predictions against Wolves.
Sorry, Wolves. To be fair, sorry, Wolves.
Yeah. So for Doncaster, Graham gets 1 point for getting the right result. He said 2-0. I said 3-0, so I get 2 points for getting the correct score as well. But Tom, he said 3-0. And he said Johnson to score. So he gets the first ever Crowing Cockerel podcast clean sweep bonus.
Clean sweep bonus.
Yeah, so that is a mighty 4 points.
Get in.
So congratulations to Tom for his wonderful prediction. Let's see if he can do quite as well this time. So yeah, away to Bodo Glimt. Obviously, it's a game that shouldn't hold too many fears for us because we went there last season. We know all about the dreaded plastic pitch. Their home form is obviously extremely good. I was just looking back at some of their results. They've scored 7 twice and 5 in the last 2 months at home. So yeah, we all know they are very, very strong at home, as they were last season. They got some cracking results in Europe at home last season. So it's not going to be an easy game. But as I say, there should be a bit of familiarity having been there last season. So how do you reckon we're going to get on this time round?
We might concede. It's mad because we didn't concede with Ange, who obviously did play slightly differently when we went there in the Europa League. But, this is a different game. It's earlier on. There is a little less jeopardy to play with here with regards to it being one of the early group games. So I think we will concede. It might be closer than we want it to be. I'm going to say 2-1 to Spurs, and I'm going to make my scorer. I'm going to go a bit left field here, but he got a rest against Wolves. I'm going to go Porro.
Okay. Graham?
Yeah, after the recent performances, I'm not as confident as I really should be, given that, yes, they have some brilliant domestic results. But again, you'd be really happy drawing Bodo Glimt in the Champions League. Bit like the Villarreal thing. We weren't great against Villarreal. We haven't really clicked this season. It's going to be a battle. I think with the news that Romero is at home, apparently precautionary, which hopefully doesn't mean 6 months out. He's obviously not going to be in the team, but that does mean that Danso slips in, and I'm confident. I like Danso. He's a decent centre back, and I think he's decent cover for Romero, and certainly good enough. Our problem's still going to be getting chances, but we should be able to create something off a set piece, a bit like we did when we went out there in the Europa League. So I'm also going to say 2-1, and I'm going to go Danso. I think Danso's going to get it on it on the end of something, and it's going to be a set-piece goal.
Excellent. So I'm also going to go with a win. It will probably be a pretty ugly, tight affair. Don't expect it to be massively entertaining, but I think we will prevail in the end 1-0. And I am going to say that Papsar is going to get our winner. So, 1-0 to the Spurs.
Nice.
And then we come back home and we face Leeds United away. Newly promoted team. They're doing pretty well, mid-table. A few draws. They got battered by Arsenal pretty early on in the season, of course, but they're doing pretty well. It'll be a tough place to go to, I would imagine. How do you think we're going to do? Do you think we're going to be able to bounce back in the league from our last performance?
This is a horrible, horrible game to have straight after a Champions League game. Saturday lunchtime at Ellen Road, when they've had a decent start to the season. I'm really concerned here. If we don't get a decent result on the Tuesday, then it's going to be quite a negative feeling going into the game on Saturday. So I'm going to say that we're going to sneak a win. I don't think we're going to be good, and I don't think we're going to knock their doors down or anything like that. But I do think we're going to sneak a win because I'm a positive Spurs fan like that. I think we're going to sneak it 2-1, and that the goal on Saturday rather than the goal on Tuesday, Mark, is going to come from Papsar.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, I don't know about this one. I don't know. Can I predict that Calvert-Lewin will probably score against us?
You can, but you don't get any points for it.
I put a fiver on it, mate, because
I don't know. I just sort of think that's the sort of thing that would happen. So yeah, I'm gonna go. I don't want to go 2-1 again. I'm gonna go 2-1 again. Let's say 2-1, and I'm gonna go with one of our early season picks because he's getting the minutes. He's obviously part of the team that Thomas Frank likes to play, and sooner or later that's going to have to pay off. Kudos.
So weirdly, and I don't know whether it's just because I'm still a bit groggy from having to talk about the Wolves game, I quite fancy us in this game. And I can't really explain why. I think part of it is because Leeds tend to be quite open and expansive at home. They've got that crowd that expect them to take the game to opponents. We will be able to soak up anything that they bring, and hopefully we'll be able to attack with a bit more pace than we've been doing recently. So I fancy a 2-0 win on this one. And I think I'm going to go with one of my early season favourites, which is Brennan Johnson.
I've shown you the way.
Yeah, I mean, go with what you know, right?
So to end today, got another new segment. So Tom, I'll hand over to you.
Well, this is very simply our cockle-doodle diss.
His hair's too long. He just honestly fallen into a sponge pudding. Cock-a-doodle diss.
Right, so this basically just gives us a chance to have a bit of a moan, not like we haven't already. It doesn't have to be Spurs related, though. If you can get anything off your chest now, this is the time to do it. But if it is Spurs related, then all the better. And here's my cockle-doodle diss this week. I can't get on board with all the different ways that commentators are saying Bergvall. What is it? Is it Bergvall? Is it Bergvall? They're getting all Scandi on me, and I still haven't started saying Hyundai right. So for me, I'm quite happy with Bergvall, and you can take your additional Y's and U's and what. Obviously, we need to be saying everybody's name correctly, but for me, that just started to get on my wick.
So what is your preferred pronunciation of
Bergvall? Bergvall.
I think you've got to stick to one, haven't you?
So there's the brilliant YouTube video, isn't there, that comes out at the start of every Premier League season, which is just every single Premier League player pronouncing their own name. I don't know whether you've seen it, but I may well clip Bergvall to see exactly how he pronounces his name.
Lucas Bergwall.
Yeah, because you pronounce it the way the person says it should be pronounced. That has always been.
I can tell you for 100%, and I've not listened to the clip yet, but it's not Bergvall, and I don't care how it's actually. I don't care how it's actually pronounced. He will continue to be known as Bergvall on this pod.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say there might be a massive climb down coming, but if you've got my back, boys, Bergval it is.
I've got your back. Bergval forever.
I'm going to just call him Lucas then.
So, Mark, now we've got all that out of our systems. You said that you were looking forward to tonight's counselling session. How are you feeling now?
You know what, boys? I think I am feeling a little bit better. I think it's worked. So, yeah, hopefully that's not all going to be wrecked tomorrow when we take to the field again. But, yeah, thanks for that. I think it's been helpful.
Well, you're very welcome.
Let's hope it's all going to be a good week. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.